Hi, my name is Jamie Napolitano, and I'm a heart disease survivor and a heart transplant recipient. And it was so great to hear Jada's story and about Drew, and I'm so blessed to be able to be here today to put a name and a story and a face to the gift of organ donation. January 1st, 2009 wasn't an ordinary, a usual day for me. I just spent New Year's Eve, the night before, in the hospital at Ochsner Hospital in the critical care tower, watching all the fireworks out of my window. I was 33 years old and in heart failure. All my options for a healthy, functioning heart were exhausted at this point, and the only way I was going to have a chance to live a longer life was with a heart transplant. I'd been in and out of the hospital for about 6 months due to my wavering health, and I just knew for some reason that January 1st, 2009 was going to be the day. So whenever I woke up that morning in the hospital, I waited, and every time I'd hear footsteps outside the door, I'd think they're about to open the door and tell me they have good news for me. And so I waited, and then that didn't happen, so my family moved me out to the waiting room and for a different change of scenery, and every time the doors to the unit would open up, I'd turn around and look to see if it was for me. But by 5 o'clock, my hope was kind of diminishing. I sent my family home and went back to my room to sulk a little bit. And I don't know why I started packing up my things in my room. I wasn't supposed to be going anywhere. I started packing up my pictures, my bags, and at 5:15, the charge nurse came in my room, and she had the phone, and she said, "I think we have good news for you." And I thought that I would be prepared. You see, I lived my entire life with heart disease. Whenever I was 3 months old, my parents were told that I had cardiomyopathy and that I probably wouldn't live past the age of 2. And I cannot imagine how that must have felt for them to stay up countless sleepless nights and hold me up because I was so sick. The coughing and the vomiting was only subsided as if they held me upright at night. But God redeemed every single tear that they cried after that diagnosis with a very sassy and spirited child that lived well beyond the age of 2. Sassy and spirited, it sounds like Drew. I had my first heart attack when I was 19 years old. I was sitting at one of my classes, in one of my college classes, and I started feeling nauseous and short of breath. But then I walked all the way across campus, signed into the next class, and then I caught a bus and rode it to the campus clinic, only to be ushered quickly to the hospital and told that I had a heart attack and they found a blood clot. But the most devastating news was that the damage caused by that was permanent, and I would never be able to carry children. So I can't describe what it feels like to hear words like that, to already have lived with heart disease but see that I was going towards a normal life, and then all of a sudden it be halted once again by this news. But God again redeemed my despair by introducing me to my husband on an airplane 7 years later, who is a native from New Orleans, and I lived in Dallas. So he knew that he was going to be with me, signing up for a lifetime of medical bills, of uncertainty, that we wouldn't be able to carry children, but he chose to marry me anyway. So we survived my move from Texas to Louisiana, which was much harder than you might think. Another defibrillator, an angiogram, medications, Hurricane Katrina, and we decided to add some more excitement to our life by trying to adopt a child. But that's when again God showered me with his mercy and love, and my little sister came forward and asked if she could carry a child for us. So she got more than she bargained for. She ended up carrying 2. I have 4-year-old twins now. And when I told my cardiologist that I was going to have twins, he said, "Great, you're going to need 2 new hearts now." But I had no idea how sick I was because my heart was so full of love and joy. The only way I knew that it was time is whenever they were 18 months old and I couldn't physically carry them or lift them anymore. Back to my January 1st, 2009, after my heart attack and blood clot, 3 defibrillators, I'm telling you, I tried everything to not have to be on the heart transplant list. But whenever you're in the hospital and you're being separated from your children that are almost 2, and you hear them crying all the way down the elevator shaft, and watch them leave and wondering, am I going to get to see them go to kindergarten? Am I going to get to experience that? I was tired physically and emotionally, but God was offering me a spiritual journey that not everyone was blessed with. The night that I found out, I kissed my kids goodbye, and they went home with their Aunt Wendy. We waited for 7 hours, but finally, whenever it was time, I rolled down the hallway toward the surgery elevators, and I had one tear. But whenever I closed my eyes, I had so much faith and hope. I knew that everything was going to be okay. And the second that I woke up that morning, I knew that it worked. I knew I had life, and I immediately suggested that they could remove the breathing tube because I was ready to sit up and watch the bowl games that I'd already planned on watching the day before. So I thought that God would have been really pleased to be able to show people that not only can He provide talented, gifted staff to be able to help me through a heart transplant and wonderful donor family, but also enough strength to sit up and watch a football game the next day. It's been 2 years since my heart transplant, and I've never felt this good in my entire life, ever. I'm able to be an involved mother, a friend, a sister, a daughter, and all the roles that bring pure joy to my life. I owe that to a young man that was 19 years old when he lost his life. His family their courage made all that possible. So I really feel certain that God's redeeming the sorrow and the pain that they must feel from the death of their loved one by bringing us all together today, by encouraging us to think beyond ourselves and our own little worlds. There will never, ever be words or actions that will describe what this gift means to me and all of the blessings that I've had because of my heart transplant. I only hope that by sharing my story and gratitude, I'll remind people how important it is to celebrate the courage it takes to be a hero, to be an organ donor and make an impact on more lives than you could possibly imagine. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Cheryl Hills. I'm a member of the Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency, but first I am a donor and recipient family member. In 1997, my brother, Lionel Brazil Jr., passed away of an aneurysm. At that same time, my husband, Roderick McGee Sr., had been on dialysis for 5 years. Our family made a decision after 3.5 hours to donate Lionel's organs, and one of his kidneys went to Roderick and 4 other people in 3 states. Our life changed, and of course, God, that was a miracle. We became volunteers with LOPA, and in 1991, Roderick passed away. He had a discussion with me because of the gift of life that we donate whatever was good. He also decided he wanted to be cremated because he didn't want anyone crying over him that didn't like him. He made special arrangements, but we made the decision to donate the corneas, and that restored sight to 2 people. After that, I decided not to be part of anything to do with organ and tissue donation. It was very painful, but the members of the Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency really helped me, not only to continue volunteering, but I became a staff member 10 months after Roderick's death, and this is something that I am so grateful for, and I look forward to being part of your life because being at LOPA helped change my life. So for all of you sitting here as a donor or as a recipient family member, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here not only for me, but for all of us. And I just hope to see you later this afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Joe Rossellino, and I am the recipient of a cornea donation. On May 14th in 2009, Dr. Pulin Shaw at Oxnard performed surgery to replace part of my cornea. I'm here to thank the donor and the donor's family, and all of the donors and the donors' families. It must be very emotional to go through that. Each one of us is created uniquely in the image and likeness of God with a mission. And what has become more apparent to me is that the mission of those who pass away and give an organ is continued through what they have enabled to happen by their organ. I've been married 38 years, and my wife and I have 2 children and 6 grandchildren, and we spend most of our time with my daughter's 4 kids, watching their games, helping with homework, and doing things which require my eyesight tremendously. We do marriage preparation one-on-one for couples getting ready for marriage, and before this happened, my eyesight was very cloudy, and the blisters on my cornea caused constant, tremendous pain. Without this surgery, I don't know what I would be able to do and feel like doing. My job is with the Archdiocese. I am an associate superintendent of schools, and I work with all 85 Catholic schools to make sure they are state approved and Southern Association accredited, and that all their teachers have the appropriate credentials. To do that, I spend most days with using my eyes on a computer. And so it further shows how important my cornea transplant was. And so I'm here, and we're all here, as a community of God's creatures who are doing things together and are preparing in this life, thank God, for a life in the future. Thank you. I hope to meet my donor in that life.
I'm Margaret Fanning, and I'm a liver recipient. I will be leading the prayer of thanksgiving. The response is, it is right to give God thanks and praise. God moves hearts to generosity. God is the source of all kindness, the font of all blessings. God is the cause for all hope. For all that has been and all that will be, we lift up our hearts to God. It is right to give God thanks and praise. For scientists and medical personnel who are dedicated to promoting God's will for life, we acclaim. It's right to give God thanks and praise. For individuals and families who have provided the donation of organs so that the lives of those seriously ill can be continued, we acclaim. It's right to give God's thanks and praise. For families who have been of support to those who have received transplants and who have been of support to those who wait for the gift of life, we acclaim. It is right to give God thanks and praise. For those whose lives have been extended and whose affection and gifts have touched us, whose love and presence have enriched our lives, whose perseverance and hope have inspired us, we acclaim. It is right to give God thanks and praise. For all who cherish the gift of life, for all who work in defense of every human life, we acclaim. It is right to give God thanks.